So yeah, and they're banging in the pool. There's a fucking orgy going on in the pool. Gotta clean the pool.
Yeah. If the movie has any redeeming quality whatsoever, it's his fucking robe. Crapulé.
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 This whole story is crapulé. Good evening and welcome back to What the Sock.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah. What's up, guys? We're back. We're in living color. We're live in studio. No, we're not live in studio, but we are back. Yeah, welcome to episode number 14 for season 3. I'm your host, Chris. Joining me always is James.
What's up, my brother?
Not much, man. So this episode is not part of our season-long giveaway DVD bundle shit because
Nope.
we want to do something special because, one, we're both fans of Eddie Murphy.
Yep. Very much so.
Very much so. And two, he released a sequel recently on Amazon, Coming to America, the second Coming to America. And in appreciation of that, we decided let's take a stab at one of his shittier movies.
Yep, one of his shittier, and I think his only actual horror movie.
No, that's not true. We'll get to that in a second. Real quick, I just want to ask James. Okay, Coming to America, the first one. What are your thoughts on it, real quick?
Absolutely loved it.
Okay.
His masterpiece is freaking hilarious. I love when he does multiple characters. Him and Arsenio Hall were hilarious. I mean, cameos of some very big stars who weren't so big back then, like Samuel L. as the armed robber and stuff like that. But it was just very well done. I love the barbershop guys, Reverend Brown, Sexual Chocolate.
Sexual Chocolate, that's right. That's right.
You know, that's right.
Randy Watson.
That's
Okay,
right.
I agree. I think Coming to America is a classic.
And
one of his best.
We can't forget the brief cameo by the Duke brothers.
Oh, that's right.
the homeless
Yep.
Duke brothers on the sidewalk. That was awesome.
Yep, one of the few Easter eggs in that movie. But yeah. Okay, so what about Coming to America, the second one? What did you think?
I thought it was hilarious. I actually enjoyed it a lot. Some people thought it was great. Some people thought it was a redo. I found it very funny. I mean, there were some parts in it were like, but for the most part, I laughed. I thought, Lisa, her character, Queen Lisa, she was hilarious. She was hilarious in the movie. Unexpectedly hilarious. Yeah. Especially when she got drunk.
Yeah.
I love the fact they brought back at the end. They brought back Randy. They brought back Peaches. The two girls, the two rapping girls and stuff. Yep. And it was hilarious. They got then they still had the barber guys. I mean, it was hilarious. Very well done. They aged them well. I mean, I know it's been 30 years, and half them old dudes probably would have been dead.
Yeah. Oh, they would have been for sure. Yeah. They were old in the first one.
Yeah, they were, but yeah, I loved it. I thought it was well written. It was a good take, and it was a good feel-good movie. It was a good bounce back, and I was just really happy to see him back in the theater again, because I do love Ed. He's hilarious. I'm glad Arsenio got some work, because I like Arsenio Hall as well. So I enjoyed it. I really, really did. Even James Earl Jones, trying to have him kill. I love that part when he comes in and he's like, how you doing this morning, Father, or something like that. And Simi tells him he's already tried to have me killed 7 times. So he said, so he's his old self right now, So what did you think?
I thought it was okay. It was nothing's gonna recapture the magic of the first one. There's quite a bit of fan service in there, which you would expect because Amazon wants to make sure that people know that this is, I guess, a sequel or whatever. But it was good. I probably won't watch it again, whereas I've watched the first one probably at least twice a year, every year for the last 30 odd years. Don't get tired of it. I am a fan of the comedian who played his son, Jermaine Fowler. I think he's hilarious anyway. He has a lot of hilarious skits on YouTube, so I was actually happy to see him in this movie. But it was okay. I think the thing that really kind of annoyed me the most were the scenes where they well, okay, actually, that's I didn't like that they constantly snuck in a bunch of scenes from the first one in there as sort of flashbacks or whatever.
I
That's
agree.
that's very lazy
Um,
writing, and it's also just a way to pad the runtime because they don't have a long enough movie. I also didn't like that one of the funniest scenes in the first one when the two of them are on going on at the club and they're having sort of a speed dating thing.
uh-huh.
They took that and then they added to it using like de aging and added an extra scene to that, which is where Murphy meets his son's mother the first time. Um,
Yep.
the de aging on Murphy and Arsenio Hall looked absolutely horrendous. It looked so bad. They looked like plastic dolls. Um, and I get they probably don't have a huge budget, but like, there's really no reason to have that scene. You can just say it and not show it. Um,
I hear you.
yeah, I felt that was cheap. It was cheap putting all the scenes from the first one in because then I was watching. I was like, I just want to go back and watch the first one again because it was so damn good. And you're showing me scenes from it, so I'm
Yeah.
just gonna go watch it again. But
Yeah, that's true. You're right. That lazy writing is a very, very good term. Like I said, I did recognize that a lot. I was sitting there going, they're repeating a lot of this
mm,
stuff. I was like, what the hell? I was like, you'd want a little bit of freshness. I mean, I get it. 30 years have passed and all that. Now the ending scene, like I said, when they brought back all the old characters, they brought back Watson and all them and the
mm-hmm,
Reverend, and they're all there at the palace at the end. That would have been great as
yeah,
is. The rest of it should have been original writing, no copy.
yeah,
Now, when he did the barber scene and stuff like that, that wasn't redone. I mean, yeah, they were acting the same kind of banter, but they didn't say the same kind of
right.
lines. They didn't say same kind of stuff. Uh, but yeah, a lot of it, the McDowells. It was hilarious that they moved the
Oh,
McDowells
they opened one
to
up in Zamunda. Yeah,
up in
yeah.
some.
But I also think it
Well,
suffered from today's culture as well because you can definitely tell it was a lot more PC than the original was. Like the
yes,
barbershop scene in the first one was not PC, and this one was more PC
new,
because just the culture for today. But
yeah,
also, um, yeah, having it wasn't like they just talked about things they did in the first one. They literally showed clips from the first one in this one
mm-hmm,
as quote unquote flashbacks,
yeah,
and I was annoyed by that because that's just you I know it's a sequel, but you don't want to rely too much on the first one to help
yeah.
sell your second one like that. You want it to be
Amen. A little
its own thing.
nostalgia. A little
Yeah,
nostalgia is good, but don't throw it in every 10 minutes.
right. The other
You know,
thing is
because
Arsenio Hall's role as a general, that whole subplot, you could have taken that whole thing out and it wouldn't have changed the movie at all. Like
nope.
that literally did not need to be in there. He had no use in there. Every time he was on screen, he was annoying as shit. And I was like, I don't even like this entire subplot. Like, take this shit out. Because I'm like, think about the first one. Think about the first one. The first one has no real villain. It's
No, it does not.
purely it's purely Eddie Murphy
Mm-hmm.
wanting. I mean, if you want to call him a villain, it's his father because he's telling him you have until this time. You're going to come back, and you're going to marry this woman because that's just how it's done here.
Yep.
But there's no real actual villain. By the way, real quick, the fact that that woman has been doing that
Oh
act that
God,
character
been barking and hopping on one
for the
leg
last 40 years,
for the last. That is
that was
hilarious.
funny. That was some funny shit. Because he never released her from that. That was some funny
Never
shit.
released her from the curse, and
Yeah.
she was all raggedy looking. Poor
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa Bell.
Oh yeah, there's no real villain. So like, there's no real like the conflict is family conflict and internal conflict, and that's all you need for a movie like that. So then
Mm-hmm.
to add this conflict with this villain with this general from a neighboring village or whatever, it's wholly unnecessary. You don't need to have a villain if there wasn't a villain in the first one.
That's
Now,
it.
granted, that goes back to what we were talking about earlier. Do something original that is original compared to the first one, but it's not a good original.
Yeah.
Like we said, you could take him out and it wouldn't affect the movie any. It'd still hold up on its own.
But they had to have Semi thrown in there. So.
Well, yeah, Semi, of course. But he's not a villain though. But
Oh, but
yeah,
you talking about Wesley Snipes then?
Wesley Snipes, yeah.
Because you said Arsenio at first. Sorry.
Well, no, sorry, I meant Wesley Snipes and his whole general thing.
Yeah, we didn't need that.
No, take that out. But again, I watched it. I enjoyed it. I liked it. I wasn't upset by it. I wasn't disappointed by it. but it wasn't a Eddie Murphy classic like the first one was.
Oh hell no.
No. And
But I
so,
am, like I said, I am glad to see him back working in the theaters again because I've missed his humor. He's hilarious to
yeah.
me.
But he unfortunately it's just how it is, I guess, when they get older. His early career was all rated R stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he gets older, I guess they're not the draw they were before, so then they want to draw more people in the theaters, so they have to go to PG-13.
Yeah, they want to clean their act up because they're getting close
Yeah.
to dying. Want to make sure they get into heaven, so they got to clean the
Well,
shit up.
I don't think it's that. I don't think they give a shit about that. I think it's the fact that they want to get more people in the seats and get more tickets and get more money.
Get
They don't
some
give a shit
butts in
about
the
going to
seats.
heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they clean it up so they can have more people in the theater, and they start making
Mm-hmm.
PG-13, and then they're not funny anymore.
Yep.
But anyway, so saying all that, we wanted to go ahead and take a look at his okay. So this is only okay. So the movie today is Vampire Brooklyn, just so we get that out the way.
Blue, blue, blue.
Yeah, Vampire Brooklyn. It's actually it's it's only one of the 3 times that Eddie Murphy has starred in a supernatural themed movie.
Huh.
So this was 1995. Okay. Prior to this, he was in The Golden Child in '86.
A masterpiece.
That
Holy
is
shit.
masterpiece.
I
Yes.
love that movie.
Again.
God, that movie is hilarious.
Yeah. Then in 2003, he was in Haunted Mansion, which was a piece of crap.
Was he?
Yes, Haunted. He was he
I
was
didn't see
the
it.
lead in. Yeah. Oh, that's how bad it was.
Oh my
Based
God.
based on the Disney ride, The Haunted Mansion, because
Oh Lord.
after Pirates of the Caribbean came out, they were trying to expand their ride theme.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah, so he did Haunted Mansion 2003. So that's the 3 supernatural movies he's done. Although this is only the only time in his career where he's played the villain.
Mm.
The only time in his career.
And he's into smooth pimp though. Smooth pimp.
Hey, smoothish. So, all right. Before I get into some more stuff, let's go ahead and break down the cast and stuff. So, directed by Wes Craven, classic movie director. Made
Wes.
a lot of great movies, written a lot of great movies. Produced by Eddie Murphy and Mark Lispy. Screenplay, oddly enough, is by Michael Lucker, Chris Parker, and his brother Charlie Murphy.
Charlie Murphy. Roll
Yes.
Charlie around. He'd be all right. He'd be all right.
The story is by Eddie Murphy, Vernon Lynch, and Charlie Murphy. So they collaborated on the story. Starring Eddie Murphy, Angela Bassett, Alan Payne, Kadeem Hardison, Zax Mokay, and John Witherspoon.
Alice, Tina Turner. What?
Angela. Who's Alice?
Alice.
Yeah, that's staying in.
Angela, Tina Turner, Bassett. My Lord. Mm.
Normally we only go through half of like the crew or whatever because they're shit. I'm gonna go through all the ones I could find because this was a movie that came out in the theaters. It was a big budget. It was Eddie Murphy, so I think it deserves a little bit more respect than we give most of our shit.
Let it roll, man. Let it
so
roll.
There's not a lot though. Music by J. Peter Robinson, cinematography by Mark Irwin, edited by Patrick Lucier. Production company is Eddie Murphy Productions, distributed by Paramount Pictures. Release date October 27th, 1995, just in time for Halloween. Running time of 102 minutes. Had a budget of $14 million, and it made its budget back with a $19.8 million run. So it made its money.
Which surprises the hell out of me because back in '95, that was still like in his heyday.
Yeah.
He was a big draw, so that's pretty funny. But maybe they didn't take it seriously because.
Well, there's a lot of factors into it, and one of them is the fact that this was actually his 3rd flop in a row.
Oh.
So prior to this, he had made The Distinguished Gentleman in '92.
Ugh.
That was a flop. He made Beverly Hills Cop 3 in '94. That was a flop.
Should never have been made. I agree.
Yes.
That movie stunk. They should have left it at 2 or done something better with 3 because man alive. Ugh.
So then he has this movie, and this was actually this movie came about because he had a contract with Paramount. And this was his last movie under the Paramount contract. His other movies for Paramount being the 48 Hours and Beverly Hills Cop series.
Yes, that is correct.
All classics except for Beverly Hills Cop 3. But he only made this movie for one reason. And that so that Paramount would release the rights to a IP that he wanted to remake and would remake the next year and would begin his comeback. And that property was The Nutty Professor.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. So
now those were great. Those were great.
Sort of brought him back into the spotlight because the first one was a classic.
Oh, it was. It was great.
So he wanted to make the movie so bad that the only way Paramount would release him was if he made this his final movie with them. So he came up with the idea for Vampire Brooklyn. Now, with regards to why it was a failure, there's actually quite a bit of cast and crew who talk about it. In an interview he did with Rolling Stone, Murphy said that it was a failure because the only way he was able to do Night Professor and get out of the Paramount deal was he had to do Vampire in Brooklyn. But you know what ruined that movie? The wig. I walked out. I walked out in that long-haired wig, and people said, "Oh, get the fuck out of here! What the hell is this?"
Now you gotta do it in the Italian. Get the fuck out of here.
Hey, get the fuck out of here!
That's right.
According to Charlie Murphy, the movie was originally going to be a straight horror film with no laughs, but Wes Craven brought a different focus to it. He said Maximilian wasn't going to have any redeeming qualities, but Wes taught us that we must get the audience to care about our characters, and even if they don't know any vampires personally, they would at least have to identify with the type of person he was. Big mistake.
Yeah.
Big mistake. Now, while it bombed initially, which it did bomb initially, despite making its money back at the box office, it has since grown a cult following for some reason. I don't know why.
Well, because it actually is quite funny.
Well, we'll get to that in our review.
Yes, we will.
We both have dissenting opinions on that. But yeah, so I went through the details, went through the thing. Oh, so even though this is a sort of kind of special episode. This is still part of our season. We don't have it. It's the DVD. We don't have it. It's not going to be part of the giveaway. We're still going to rate it the same way we rate all our other movies, which is
damn right. No mercy.
No mercy, which is a reverse shit emoji rating. So, what do we mean by reverse? Well, we're going 1 to 5, but instead of 5 being the best of the numbers or the best of the ratings, 1 is the best. So, if we give it a 1, it's one of those new classics that you'll keep in your queue and you'll watch over and over and you'll get endless enjoyment out of them. If it's a 2, these are the ones you'll watch only with friends who really enjoy shitty movies and enjoy riffing on them while playing drinking games. If we give it a 3 out of 5 shit emojis, you'll watch it once and that's it, you're done. These are the ones that are so strange that you might not want to watch them more than once, but you at least want to share them with your friends. If we give it a 4, these are the ones you're going to at least mention to your friend. Maybe not watch it with them, but mention it to them. Unless you have nothing better to do, but then you need to be prepared to drink heavily while watching it.
Very much so.
If we give it a 5 out of 5, this is the figa de la madre, the worst of the worst. You're only going to bring these out on special occasions, and after watching them, you're going to remove them from your memory with some sort of mind-altering substance or some sort of blunt force trauma.
Yes.
But they deserve to be watched at least once.
I always love that. I don't care how many times I hear it. It always makes me laugh. Blunt force trauma.
Blunt force trauma. So, with all these, they deserve to be watched at least once because somebody wanted to put forth some sort of effort to get them made.
And this is Eddie. This one, Eddie. That's right.
That's right. This one, Eddie. Although there have been a couple of occasions where we had to break out a brand new rating number of a 6.
Oh God.
Those are so bad that we can't even recommend them. We recommend you do not watch them at all because you will waste an hour and a half of your time.
And that, like I said, that's usually to lack of horror quality or horror content. It's basically has a horror name, but the movie has no horror in it. Basically, it's a waste.
It has no redeeming qualities. It has no watchability at all. Again, it's been rare, but there have been those few that we've had in our system. So, with that being said, what do we say we go ahead and get into the review, bud?
Let's dive into it.
For centuries, they have roamed the earth, fearsome creatures of the night, endlessly seeking to satisfy an unyielding hunger. Now, the world's last vampire is about to encounter something infinitely more terrifying than himself. Brooklyn.
Interesting. I've been stabbed, and I've been hanged. Even broken on the rack once, but I've never been shot before. It kind of itches a little.
Paramount Pictures presents
If you're hungry, I'll run you down to KFC down the street and hit you off with a 2-piece.
I already had Italian.
Eddie Murphy,
Do I look like I would bite you?
Angela Bassett,
You bet not. Not after the day I've had.
Eddie Murphy,
Everything! Come on! Move it! Yeah, right. There's a lot of love in this room. Look at this.
and Eddie Murphy.
Bottom line, brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to tell you tonight is that evil is good. Let me hear y'all say it. Evil is good. That's right.
If he fails here,
Quickest way to a woman's heart is through the church.
It's actually through the rib cage, but that's a bit messy.
being undead
You got the dropsies.
won't be worth living.
I'm a cop. If you try anything funny, I'll shoot you.
Women.
Vampire in Brooklyn.
I would love to have you for dinner.
Right off the bat, I want to say I forgot a fact. So Angela Bassett's stunt double, Sonia Davis, actually died while making this film.
She did.
She did.
I had no idea.
There was an accident where she was supposed to fall off a building onto a bag. The bag wasn't inflated properly, and she ended up bouncing off and hitting the concrete and died. It's very tragic. Yeah, they actually were.
Oh, shoot.
Her family was working on suing the studio afterwards. So yeah, very 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 bad tragedy. Sucks to have her off the bat. But I forgot that fact going in.
Might be why it only made 19.8 million. They might have taken 20, 30 million from them.
Probably. Also, this movie is rated R. It doesn't feel like it's rated R because this seems a lot like what PG-13 is today.
Yes. Now there's some F-bombs. There's a pretty significant amount of F-bombs. So in 95, that would definitely push it to the R rating.
Yeah, I mean, it would push it today. I think you get like 1 or 2 F-bombs in a PG-13. After that, it goes to R. But I didn't even catch the F-bombs because it's not rampant like it is in Beverly Hills Cop or 48 Hours or anything like that. So I missed those completely. Actually.
Really?
I missed all those
You
F-bombs.
did, huh?
I did. Yeah.
Hell,
Maybe
John
they didn't have
Witherspoon
the-
said the first one. He plays Uncle Cyrus, and he blasts one like first 40, 50 seconds being on screen.
Well, I've completely missed that. Okay, so we start off with some city shots, and Eddie Murphy's narrating a backstory about some vampires who went to Bermuda instead of Transylvania, and became an offshoot of vampires down in Bermuda, probably just smoking the weed and hanging out on the beach, chilling, at night. He talks about how they were hunted down until he was the last one left, and now he's going to Brooklyn to find the last known vampire born outside Transylvania. This begins the first of my problems in that he's a vampire from the Caribbean. He's a vampire from Bermuda, right? Which, anybody who's been interested in vampires or has read anything about them, different cultures have different vampire myths and legends, and they have different powers and abilities and vulnerabilities. And it would have been cool to see him or to introduce those different ideas into this movie and bring forward the ideas of the the powers, the abilities, the vulnerabilities of a Caribbean vampire versus European, but they don't. They stick with the European vampire, which we've seen 6.5 million fucking times, and so it's boring as shit.
Yeah, is that like the African swallow versus the European swallow?
Right, exactly, yeah. Exactly, yeah.
Anyway, I don't know anybody
so,
will get that reference, but that's all
no.
right.
But so then we're shown the first two of our characters, Silas, played by John Witherspoon, and Julius, played by Kadeem Hardison. They're at the docks. They're watching Family Feud while the ship aimlessly makes its way through the harbor.
I call it the Jurassic Park runaway boat scene. Same kind of shit.
Yeah, just like it, exactly.
Same kind of shit. Comes steaming in, rusty, broke down.
You don't see anybody on deck.
No lights. It's kind of a good shot. A little eerie. There's no
Yeah.
lights on deck, and it's just cruising in, and it just starts wrecking through a whole bunch of shit.
Right. Yeah. And so it crashes into their dock house, and we get our very first jump scare of the movie when a pigeon attacks John Witherspoon. Ooh, scary.
Well, that's the funny part though, is after it crashes, Kadeem hits the trail. I call him Dwayne Wayne because
Dwayne Wade. Yeah. Yeah. I
perfect
know.
world.
Perfect world. That's right.
But man, there's this part he says, "Man, you got to deal with the spooky shit. I'm out." And he takes
Yeah.
off, and you hear him jump.
Yeah.
He just cusses him
And
out.
again, I love John Witherspoon. This is not Friday John Witherspoon where he was funny as shit and everything he said was golden and classic. This is John Witherspoon who's given terrible lines to read, and even he wasn't able to make them sound better.
Well, he did have one good one though. He climbed up
What's
on
that?
deck, and he's like, "Ahoy, ahoy, who there?" And he goes, "Ahoy, motherfucker."
That was funny. Yeah. That was funny. John Witherspoon.
He was doing his usual hyper overacting stuff. It was
Right.
pretty funny, but yeah.
And that leads me to my next part. Yeah, so when they get up, they see the ship is empty, and so Julius chickens out and leave while Silas goes to search the ship, and that's where you get the ahoy motherfucker, which is, funny. It's funny. But then he finds the entire crew dead, and he sees a wolf that runs off. And then you see a shot where you see the shadow of the wolf against a wall, and we get this terrible shadow wolf transformation into Eddie Murphy's character. It looked like a cartoon.
Wig and all.
Drawing. Wig and all.
Even the wig was well pronounced in the shadow, yes.
So we transitioned to Julius getting kicked out by his girlfriend for snoring while fucking.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what. I'm just going to say it right now. I laughed a ton during this movie because it's just my kind of humor. But yeah, that was funny as hell. He said, "Baby, what was it? You were snoring, but baby, people snore. Not while they fucking." The way she said it, oh my God, I died laughing.
And there's one of the F-bombs I completely forgot about. Yeah. But yeah, she says it. And I do want to also preface this. When this movie came out in 95, I was 15 years old. It was the perfect time for someone like me who was A, into Eddie Murphy and that kind of comedy, and B, into horror movies and the supernatural. So when this came out, I ate this shit up. When it came out on VHS, I watched the hell out of it all the time because I thought it was fantastic. Watching it now, it's not what I thought. It didn't hold up the way I thought it was, and I did not like it at all. Well, I'll get to that. Anyway, so then he's chased by a muscle car, and we're introduced to Anthony and Tony, which that's kind of funny. Two fucking Guidos, and they're both named Tony. One's Anthony, one's Tony. And they have a stupid ass scene where he gets grabbed by the smaller one. He's like, "Hey, Tony, what are you doing?" He's like, "How many times I got to tell you? I'm Anthony. That's Tony." And then you get Skinner from X-Files pop out.
Yep.
Mitch Pileggi, and they're threatening him because what was the reason they threatened him? He's like he needed give them their money.
He owed him money. He owed him money. Yep.
Okay,
he owed him money.
So then Murphy shows up. His character, who's Maximilian, shows up. He gets shot by the Guidos, and right off the bat, we know where not one single dollar, none of this $14 million budget went. None of it went to this horrible wig that he has on his head. I mean, this was a major release by Paramount. $14 million. You got Eddie Murphy. You've got Wes Craven. How in the hell can a movie like this have that bad of a wig line?
I don't know.
On the main character.
I mean, it was almost Soul Glow bad.
It was. I mean, the line on his head, like they didn't even attempt to blend it into his skin.
Like I said, you can see that thin line of adhesive. You can see
all
it
the
if
way
you look
from
close
the middle of his
enough.
forehead down, all the way down to his sideburns. It is, and as Murphy said, I get why people said, "Get the fuck out of here! What the hell is this?" Because that move and that right there, I don't know how I missed that when I was a kid. When I was 15, I guess I didn't care about behind the scenes and movie making and shit like that. But that was so distracting. Every time I saw him on screen, the only fucking thing I looked at was that fucking wig line.
I was like, what in the hell we got going on here?
It was bad. But so he gets shot 5 or 6 times. He gets up and he does his famous line that you like, James.
Oh, the one about the itching. He says, "I've been hung before. I've been broken on the rack." But then he says, "But I've never been shot before." kind of itches. And then he
Yeah.
puts his hand out and he's like, rah, and at
Yeah,
10:10,
so
yep,
he runs his hand through Tony Mitch Pileggi's heart, and he says, "Put a little heart into it, womp womp,"
yep.
and then proceeds to
Now I might say his voice acting was pretty good at that part. He actually had a fairly convincing horror voice to me. I like he's like, put a little heart. I mean he says it and he doesn't sound like he's joking. He sounds serious, and he rips his heart out, and of course it shows it to him, and the Guido hits the deck.
right. And I mean, again, I assumed he was supposed to be a Caribbean vampire because he was one of the ones that, or he was part of that lineage that went off to Bermuda and lived in the Bermuda Triangle instead of Transylvania. So I would assume he'd have a more Caribbean accent, or at least a accent from that area, not a European accent, which it was okay. It wasn't that great, but it was fine. But I was like, why? You should have, okay. First, nothing. Also, because you're black, you're playing a black vampire, which they haven't done since like Blackula. You might be a good chance to sort of represent more of like.
He makes reference to that in the movie too. That's hilarious.
But then he proceeds to tear Anthony apart for kill one. And tear him apart. It's kind of on screen, kind of off screen, but it's enough for a kill. And I think that's actually only actual kill that we get in this whole fucking movie because I can't remember the rest.
That's actually the first two. Yeah, kill one was the heart rip, and then kill two was the ripping scene. So we actually got two decent kills, but it was funny because you see arms and legs and shit flying.
Yeah,
and
that was kind of comical too. It's almost fucking comical.
Of course. Yeah. Well, yeah, you could tell it was going to be. I mean, it is listed as a comedy horror. So, yeah, you knew there was going to be some goofy shit.
So, Julius takes off. He chases Julius down. He gives him some of his blood and turns him into his ghoul and his servant. Now, in another oddly weird like coincidence, this is the second movie where Eddie Murphy has played a foreigner who has come to New York to look for a special lady.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
So it's a weird sort of coincidence there.
Yeah, when he grabs it, but like I said, when he grabs him, that's when he delivers one of my favorite lines in the movie. He grabs him by the throat and squeezes him, and he's like he's going to kill him. He says, "Hey, you ain't got to pull that Blackula shit on me. I'll take you down to KFC and hook you up with a two-piece."
Yep, and we heard that in the trailer too. Yeah,
that was in the trailer, but man, that made me laugh. Oh man.
Now, unlike Coming to America, the movie we were referencing before. In Coming to America, it took him probably halfway through, maybe a little later on, to find and win over his special lady or whatever. In this one, he has to find her before the next full moon in order to get her under a spell. Otherwise, vampires are doomed forever. And then we meet the woman, Rita, played by Angela Bassett, and her partner Justice, as they show up at the ship that crashed in the docks earlier. We're given a small exposition dump by Justice to the captain, talking about how Angela transferred 3 months ago because her mother died in asylum, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada.
Yep.
And Murphy, Max, and Julius show up, and he's pissed because he needs to get his coffin is on the ship. He needs to get it. Then we get to a point where I had to take away minus 1 point because at 17:18, they kill the police dog. And they do it in the dumbest fucking way ever. Eddie Murphy looks at him, and this dog shoots up in the sky like he is a rocket and like disappears into the sky.
He comes down as a smoldering smoke bomb and lands in the water. And I was like, why? He told him jump is what he did. He got in his mind, told the dog jump. The jumps way up, comes down, and he's smoking. And then he hits the water. Do you actually see the dog die? No, but it is assumed.
He's not alive after that. But if first of all, you don't kill a dog. Second of all, if you're gonna kill a dog, make it a bit more interesting than that. Than just fucking that, because it's quite obvious once he says jump and it cuts back to the dog flying up. It's quite obvious it's a dummy. It's like a stuffed dog or whatever. But don't kill the dog. Minus 1 point right there, assholes. So then Angela is on the ship and she finds Max's coffin on the ship, and Murphy shows up, somehow gets on the ship there, and realizes
he's a vampire. He's a vampire.
But there's like lights and people over the place.
He can turn into smoke and wisp and shit.
Again, yes, because he's a European vampire. He can do all this European vampire bullshit.
That's right.
But the second he sees her, he realizes that's the girl he's been looking for. He realizes who she is. So, movie's over. Good night. Have a good night, y'all. We'll talk to y'all next time on the next episode.
Yep.
But then I have this note written in my thing. Maybe you can help me, because I can't remember what the context is, but I have this note saying weak Blue Cross joke. Something about insurance or something. I think Julius mentions about insurance, and then he says Blue Cross, and Max gets all mad and like attacks him, and I'm like, just because he said the word cross, you're gonna attack him? That's fucking stupid. That's, again, dumbass writing.
I don't even
See,
recall
that's how bad the
believe it or
joke
not.
is. Yeah.
That's what I see, because like I said, when she finds the coffin, and then she lifts the lid and sees herself in it and has this flashback, she goes nuts and falls back, and then her partner comes in and gets her out of there. And then it's like, okay, then it changes scenes and they haul ass. But yeah, I don't recall Max attacking him.
And this
maybe I missed it.
This is like a repeated thing where they have these little sort of supposed to be in jokes that don't make sense, because, like, vampires are supposed to be like European vampires are supposed to be, afraid of crosses, and they don't like churches and praying, that kind of thing. So they have little things like that he's supposed to like not like, but it doesn't make any sense because it's not overtly hurting him. Like, just saying Blue Cross is different than showing him a Blue Cross. That makes no sense. It's stupid as shit. Anyway, they take Max's coffin back to Julius' apartment, who lives in a complete shithole. I mean, it looks like it's terrible. And it's run by his uncle, which is even worse.
Oh, yeah. Who's also the dock supervisor.
Yes.
They had limited budget, so they used John for that.
I mean, I would too. Put in as much as you can in that movie.
Hell yeah, because he's funny as hell.
And this is where we start seeing the degradation of Julius. He starts losing body parts. He loses an ear and a hand. He loses the ear on the boat, and then loses a hand later. Oh, he's losing a hand. He shows up. This is like the next night or whatever. He shows up back at the apartment complex with limo, because Max wanted him to get a better ride, or limo hearse, I should say. Anyway, he gets out, and John's on the stoop playing cards by himself, and Julius gets out and starts to wipe down the car, wax it, and while he's doing that, his hand just fucking falls off.
Falls the fuck off. He's like, oh shit. It's pretty damn funny. I mean, he just seems completely unbothered by it. But another thing is, during the course of his rotting and his degradation, as you call it, the way he's just going downhill, nobody around him seems to notice, except his uncle. And even his uncle don't say nothing.
Yeah. Nobody seems to find him scary or worried that he might have leprosy.
He mentions it, but yeah, exactly.
His uncle just says, "Oh, you got the dropsies," because he hooked up with some skank, whatever.
That's it.
But I mean, especially later on at the end of the movie, I mean, he's looking full on like a ghoul. Like his nose and his skin is coming off.
Oh yeah.
His uncle is still saying that he needs to get some sun or some shit like that. He's not even at all worried about the fact that he looks like a fucking ghoul.
Yeah.
But this is also where we learn that Rita cannot just be turned; that she has to give herself to Max voluntarily. So he has to woo her into wanting to turn, so that he can turn her, and they can go off and make more vampire babies and whatnot and shit like that. So that's also because that happens when Max gets in the car and Julius is driving him and asking him about it, and that's also the second bad joke is bad of the bad church jokes, I guess you could say. So Julius turns on the radio and starts playing "Pray" by MC Hammer, and Max gets pissed off. And again, I'm like, that's so fucking dumb. That's not even funny. It makes no sense. Just because the song's saying "pray," it's not inadvertently hurting you. Get the fuck over it. It was a dumb line, dumb written, dumb joke. Moving on.
I feel a lot of childhood anger coming out.
It's
damn this movie. Damn it.
It was way better when I was a dumbass 15-year-old. So the cops go to this nightclub owner called Dr. Zico, who's also a folklore expert from the islands. And
that's right.
Go ahead.
No, I said I really like that actor too. He is an awesome actor. He's been in several movies. I think it's Zakis Mokai. Mokai.
Yeah, he's a good actor.
Very cool actor. Very cool actor.
Yeah, I like him a lot. And he's the one that tells him that there's a vampire in Brooklyn.
There's a vampire around here.
One of my biggest pet peeves in movies and shows that I cannot get over, and I hate it every time. And it happens a lot in the show called Lucifer that we watch.
Oh God, Now I'm gonna tell you what, Lucifer's a badass
Yeah, Lucifer's a great show.
I like that show.
Final season's coming up next month. So, but I absolutely hate when they have a scene of people in a nightclub and you clearly hear them talking to each other like they're in a library or something. Like you can hear the background, the music in the background, but they're talking. They're talking at a normal tone. Anybody who's even been to a nightclub for 5 minutes knows you have to shout your fucking heart out to talk to anybody.
That's right, yeah, lean into each other. Hey, dude.
They purposely
hey,
play the music so loud in a nightclub that all you can do is dance. They don't want you to talk. They want you to
That's
dance.
it.
But
They want you to talk. They want you to dance
that's
and
right,
drink.
exactly. Every single movie or show does that, and it pisses me the fuck off because I'm like, it never happens in real life, and yet they do it here. There's a whole conversation that goes on at the bar.
Well, that's my fault.
Why?
That's my fault. I call the damn, I call the production companies in advance, tell them, hey, my buddy Chris hates that shit. Keep doing it. Pile it on. Let him
Well,
have
then
it.
after this episode, you and I need to talk about our partnership after this episode because that's fucked up. I don't know if I can keep talking. I can keep hosting with you if you can doing that bullshit to me because that pisses me off. So we'll have to talk after the show. But yeah, they have a whole long conversation. Music's going, but of course you can hear them just fine, normal, like they're normally talking to you. But at that time, Max shows up, and he shows up. Maybe it was fine in the 90s, but it's not going to fly today. But he shows up, and he's like 2 feet from her, and he just does the best creeper stare I've ever seen.
No shit. I was gonna say that. That's perfect. He is burning a hole through her, staring at her. I was like, and she just turned around all calm and cool. You want something?
When and he's not even subtle about it. He's like 1.5 feet from her and just like not looking anywhere else, looking straight at her. I'm like, man.
I mean, just yeah, that's stalker much.
But again, because this is a movie, this nightclub has a cobra and a tank because that's what they have at clubs apparently. I guess in Brooklyn.
That's what they do at clubs. Yeah.
The cobra gets out somehow and goes on to the attack or try to attack Angela, Rita. Of course, Murphy saves her from it and uses that as sort of a way in to talk to her. But he also tries to get her to dance. So because he said earlier that all he needs to do is get her to dance one dance. That's all it's going to take, and she'll voluntarily change. So he begins to get her to dance and fails. Because this was sort of funny because what's his face? Julius comes up and starts talking all this shit about how like he's just trying to hit it and use hoe and all this other shit and
yeah, trying to cop block him.
Yeah, and totally fucks up this thing. Good one. But then Justice comes back and says they got to go, and so they take off. Well, the cops go back to Rita's place where he meets her roommate Nikki. And this is where I realized that they're not only is it not an original idea because he's a European vampire. They're very much sort of going along with the same sort of setup as the Dracula because you've got the vampire. Rita's sort of a role reverse from Jonathan Harker, and then Justice is sort of a role reverse from Mina Harker. Because Dracula wants to get with Mina, who's Jonathan Harker's wife, and it's when he wants to get with Rita, who's Justice's partner. But then they meet Nikki. Nikki is sort of the whole roommate that Mina has in her, in that story. I think it's Lucy.
And I will say, excellently played by Simba Kali. She is a very underrated. Very funny actress. She was in Night Court.
Love Night Court.
Oh God, horrible smart. Oh my God, she's a smart ass. And she was in a few other things, but man, oh my God, she's funny. And she was great in this. She made me laugh the way she was. But man, I'm gonna tell you what, she made me want to jump through the screen because she was a
she was a hoe. And so I think she's supposed to be like this version of Lucy, Mina's roommate in Dracula.
I think so.
But so she tries to fuck Justice, but he ain't touching that shit because he ain't for no hoe. He's a classy cop. But so she follows him downstairs and then he leaves and then Max shows up, and Max is the one that bangs the roommate. Does so making Nikki think or Rita think that Justice fucked her because they have separate rooms. She went to bed and then she comes out hearing all this noise and she hears Nikki banging, but thinks that it's Justice. And so
But that's Max, man. Max done waxed that
Which
ass.
also kind of annoyed me because, like, at no point in this very short beginning did they at all establish that Rita had any sort of personal feelings for Justice, because they're just partners. They're partners,
Yeah.
and she's only been there 3 months, so I get that. You work together closely with somebody, but a lot of times you don't really want to date your partner because it's just bad for everybody.
Yeah.
But not at all, and at no time at all did they even like hint that she has a thing for him. And all of a sudden, in this one scene, she's extremely pissed at him for fucking Nikki, which just makes her look like a fucking psycho. Because there's no lead up for it.
Rabbit boiling.
Yeah.
bitch.
Yeah. For those who don't get that, that's not Indecent Proposal. That's Fatal
Fatal
Attraction. With Michael
Attraction.
Douglas. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah.
It makes her look fucking psycho. But she's upset. So she does what any roommate is upset about when her quote unquote man, fucks some other person. She goes out to her landing to paint.
I'm gonna go paint. Damn it!
Fuck him.
Oh,
But this is
funny.
done because they live near a railroad or a train track, and so while she's out there painting, the subway comes by, and it masks all the noise of Nikki getting absolutely fucked to death. I mean, she
getting drilled like a West Texas oil rig. I mean,
and
bam.
so Rita can't hear it because the train's coming by. So Eddie Murphy's able to kill her, and in kind of an interesting kind of scene, he kills her. Next day, Rita comes out, goes to her room, finds her room is empty, and a note. And
I got one quick question. Yeah, he did wipe her out, but how does blood come through a keyhole?
Oh yeah. Let's talk about that. So
you want to tell me that?
Real quick, we're gonna talk about this. So the doors to their rooms are these double doors that close in the middle, and they have like these little windows in them. So they're not real doors. But and it's not
those are like standard Hollywood movie New York
so when
doors.
he kills her, blood starts coming out from the bottom of the door and through the keyhole. And the room is the room is not like a broom closet. It's a good size. The only way blood comes out through a keyhole like that is if the room fills up with blood, which it didn't because it's just one person, or somebody is forcefully pushing blood through the keyhole and he didn't do that. So why the fuck was there blood coming through the keyhole? That makes no goddamn sense. Again,
I'm gonna put it this way: cheap effect, just for
exactly,
effect. Just for effect.
It's a nonsense effect just made to make the movie scarier. But yeah, so what's kind of cool is he I guess because he fucked Nikki, he sort of took in some of her essence, and so he's able to write this note in her handwriting perfectly and ask her, saying that she is leaving with this dude that she's found and she's never coming back. And Rita believes it because he was able to write in her handwriting, which is kind of cool. That's kind of a cool concept.
Yeah, and the room was cleaned out. The sheets were gone. No blood anywhere. So all traces were gone.
And then we get the first of Eddie Murphy doing multiple roles in this film, which he did, of course, in Coming to America, and he perfected in Nutty Professor. But
yes,
we get the first of multiple roles when we get Preacher Polly. So
I love this character.
So Rita's going to go to church, and she meets Preacher Polly, who's out back in his stalker van, drinking Grandpa's cough syrup.
his holy roller out back, man. He's doing his thing.
And so he's talking to her, and then she leaves, to go inside the church, and then while he's there, all of a sudden Max comes up, kills him, puts him in the van. No, I take it back. She doesn't talk to him at the van. Max kills him first, puts him in the van, assumes his form by turning into him, and then Rita comes up and is talking to him as Preacher Polly.
And he is shiny as hell, which is hilarious. It's like his hair's all slicked, he's oiled down, he's real shiny, and he talking like this. How you doing?
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. The voice, it almost sounds like Professor Klump.
Almost, yeah.
Except he adds a little more preacher twist to it. But if you know the Klump voices and stuff like that, you know how.
And part of me wondered if this was like Eddie Murphy doing his version of the Reverend from Coming to America, the one that Arsenio Hall played.
Maybe so,
but nowhere near as funny. Yeah, but yeah, it does seem like he looks like his costume looks like a mix between the father from Nutty Professor and James Brown, who he's also played before.
That is true. Man, that's funny.
Okay, here I do want to say this. This scene when they're walking up and then the preacher comes and grabs him to bring him in the church. To me, this scene brought about the only legitimately funny scene in my mind, and
oh man,
funny that I actually want to play it right now because I know I laughed as a kid when this happened, but I laughed even harder now when this happened. So let me play this real quick.
I mean, does this make sense? Is any of this possible?
Well, sister, you'd be surprised at things that's possible.
Well, I guess I'm just afraid of ending up like my mother, you know? Afraid I might be losing my mind.
You're afraid you're going crazy. That's good. Well, I mean, it's good, to get that out. You can't leave that inside you. If you feel that you're going crazy, tell people. You gotta let it out. What you need is an outlet.
Well, actually, I get it out in my paintings.
Oh, you paint?
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. Good to paint.
Yes.
Yeah, well, when I was young, I used to paint only nature. Preacher Polly. Come on now. Everybody.
Preacher Polly.
I'm going right now.
Go ahead, preacher.
Right here, coming up right here. So he's walking inside the church.
Come on, get your butt in here. Right now is not a good time. We just got a good time.
He's looking at all the icons out there. His hair is smoking.
God damn!
What did he do?
Damn anybody who doesn't glorify in his work. It's a hell of a night outside. Come on, let's do the sermon on the lawn. Come on, sister. God damn.
That got the only legitimate laugh out of me when I was rewatching this, and it still makes me laugh because it's just the funniest thing to see all these people in church.
And to me, that's too bad, because to me, there's a lot of funny parts in this movie, but that's just me. I like this kind of humor.
Yeah,
I always have.
So then we get the whole necessary evil preach sermon at this point. That was actually kind of funny too because he starts calling out certain
oh my
parishioners
God,
on their shit, and that was actually kind of funny too. He calls out adulterers and drug dealers and all kinds of shit. That was pretty funny.
Pointing down there and say, "You see him down there?" I'm just going to use a name. I'll just say Reggie or something because I don't remember the character's name. He said, "You see Reggie down there? Last night he was fucking around with his wife with a $2 hoe."
Matter of fact,
and she started looking at him, slapping him and stuff. And he said, "That's all right. $2 hoe, all right. You can push him to the limit." He said, "Ain't nothing wrong with no $2 hoe." I was rolling. I mean, that kind of humor kills me. I'm dying laughing.
I actually want to play that real quick because that is quite funny. So here we go.
That don't match. That's plaids and stripes, evil and necessary. You see, because without bad, there is no good. Without light, there is no dark. You need both these things. You know what I'm saying? If every day is a sunny day, well, then what's a sunny day? Well, the bottom line, brothers and sisters, what I'm trying to tell you tonight is that evil is necessary. Evil is necessary, thereby, if it's necessary, evil must be good. Evil is good. That's what I think. It must be. Evil must be good. Let me hear y'all say it. Evil is good. That's right. Evil is good. Take Brother Brown, for instance.
That is, man, it's awesome.
There you go.
Pillar stability. Brother Brown was down on Bushwick Avenue last night with a $2 hoe.
Oh, baby, I didn't know she was no hoe.
Now that's evil. When you tell your wife, "I'm gonna go see mama," then you go down on Bushwick Avenue and get you a $2 hoe. That's evil. But Brother Brown had a good time with that $2 hoe. You can push a $2 hoe to the line. She don't have no limits. Evil and good, they walk hand in hand. Evil is as evil does. Rita.
Yeah, so I feel like if the movie had been more of that sort of darker comedy, I think it would have been a whole lot better, personally. I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Okay, so then we flash forward. We get the Eddie Murphy character number 2. We get the weird Guido Eddie. There's this Guido who gets kicked out of this Italian restaurant, who's clearly already Eddie Murphy, in the costume.
Oh yeah.
But then Eddie Murphy or Max finds him, kills him, turns into him, and decides to rob the Italian restaurant where the cops already are questioning some of the mobsters. Then
It is. Oh
then
man.
we get another 1 minus point because they
Yeah.
kill a cat that's in there.
At 54:30, yeah, he ices. They throw the cat, or the cat jumps at him, and he
Yeah,
pow,
it's off screen,
shoots
but
the
you
cat.
still see the cat killed, so that's minus a point right there already.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you know what the funny thing is? During this whole scene, all I hear is, "Hey, pay for my fucking candy." That's all I hear.
Yeah, because that's the voice he's doing. Yeah. And so, but what it is, he's purposely done this because he knows the cop's going to be there, and he's using this. He's talking all this shit to Rita, trying to get information on her, find out what her favorite food is, all that stuff. It's pretty clever. And then when he's taken downtown, he causes a scene and is able to quickly transform back to himself, and he's able to get out.
But the way he does it is hilarious. He's sitting there in the chair, and he's like, "What's it, Nikki? That's right.
Yeah,
Nikki called me
that's
last
right,
night. Told me you beast selector. You know all this shit. Got her all pissed off. Started a riot, and then as he was walking, he turned and put a thought in this other cop's brain. Says, kill a cop. So she picks up a letter opener and tries to stab one of her fellow officers. And while that scramble's going on, he converts to himself, and they stand up and they look at him, and he's just standing there in his Soul Glow wig, and he points out he went that way.
And so because he quote unquote called out Justice for banging Nikki. Again, Rita for some reason is in love with him. We don't know why. She slaps him, and then she gets suspended. And then
I'm laughing because I just thinking about all the Italian shit he's throwing around. Because it's just, to me, I'm sorry, man, that's funny as hell to me. Sitting there in a chair cuffed, and he's like, "Yeah, beast fucking this shit, and that, all right, man, you know." And he's intentionally stirring, and it was brilliantly done to me. His comedy come out. You know, he was good.
I mean, that was classic Eddie Murphy. It was, to me, it just
he had to carry some scenes. That's for damn sure.
To me, it was a bit forced. But that's just me, and I totally get that. I mean, okay, let me ask you, had you seen this before?
Not before. I believe it or not, I think I saw it once, but it's been so dang long, I could not remember anything about it. So when I saw it to watch for the review, it was like the very first time I ever saw it.
And that makes sense.
Because I literally didn't remember anything.
That makes sense. And I haven't seen it since probably 2000, but in that 5 years from 95 to when it came out, I watched it so much that I literally can remember the entire picture in my head before I even watched it again. Even though I haven't seen it in like 20 years, I watched it that much.
Yeah.
But then because she's suspended, she's in this foul mood. Max is able to convince her to go on a date with him. So they're on this date, and again, similar to Coming to America, where he comes to New York to look for his woman. He gets a shitty apartment, but then throughout the movie he gets all this shit. They gets all this shit and turns the apartment to this like bachelor pad, this fancy ass room. You know, again he does the same thing with this one. He casts a bunch of spells and turns his shitty room apartment into like this freaking loft. You know,
and I have to pay props. I have to give credit where it's due. Miss Bassett looks stunning in that red and black dress. Oh my God.
She does. That was a good look. She looked good.
Tina looked good.
She looked real good after she left Ike.
Yep. Continue.
Yeah. And so she shows up and she ends up getting bit. He ends up biting her. And we transition to the next day with Justice showing up at Julius's apartment. And Silas tells him that he saw his new partner, he saw Rita, leave after staying the night with Max. And
she was bow-legged. I love the way he said she left here, she was bow-legged.
Bam, bam,
bam. I mean, that was funny. Yeah, he's all night. Bam, bam.
Yeah.
He made sure to accentuate.
He did. He sure did.
That
so
was
then
funny.
Justice gets called to a crime scene where they end up finding Nikki. And Nikki was tied up to a water tower for some dumb ass reason. Why they would tie her up there is fucking stupid. But she's tied up in a way that looks just like one of Rita's paintings. So it's like Rita has sort of like premonition ability where she can tell the future, and she paints it.
Like in a crucifixion pose. She's up on the tower, wrapped in a sheet, dead as a doornail. She's bluish because all the blood's been drained out of her. But yeah, it was exactly like her painter, which we have to note. She paints her dreams before they happen. So these are things that she painted before they actually happened.
So then he goes to
Proceed.
Rita and tells Nikki's dead and they found her. And for some reason, I don't know if you noticed it, but okay. So earlier, the night before, when she was on a date with Max, she has this cross that she wore. So I think her mom gave it to her or some shit. But he pulled it off her and threw it across the room when they were together, right?
And here's a tiny little detail. People might not see this if they're not looking for it. When he does that, why doesn't it burn his hand for one thing? Because he's not even supposed to touch crosses. But it did burn her neck. If you notice below her neckline, she has.
That's what I was coming to. Yeah, because in that scene where he's talking to her, she has a burn imprint on her chest from the cross.
Yeah,
which doesn't make sense because he removed it before he turned her.
Exactly.
So her cross was not on her neck when he turned. So there should be no. But you're right. Yeah, there's a little, and it's not difficult to miss. It's like right there in the middle of her chest, and it's just pretty bad burn mark, which makes no sense. So when Justice is there telling her about it, she gets all horny, whatever, and she's about to get busy with him, but then she looks into the mirror and sees that she's become a vampire, and her reflection disappears. And so that freaks her out. She runs out and goes back to Max's, and she realized that then at that point she realizes she's the one who's killed everyone, including Nikki, and that he turned her. So she realizes he's like the one doing all of this shit.
You're like, oh shit, that's right, because we get a Max and Nick, Max and Rita exposition dump on the roof, which dumps the whole background story about her mother, about her father, and all this, and that her daddy was a vampire and her mama was a human, and she was like, what the hell? What do you mean this, that, and the other? And he's like, humans, and he's all pissed off, and he says, they killed your father, and blah blah blah, and all this shit.
Exactly.
So it's like, okay, whole story caught up right there. Let's go.
Yeah. And Justice goes back to Dr. Zico for help and tells him, and Dr. Zico tells him that he was one of the ones who killed Angela's father back in the Bermuda Triangle, which was kind of cool, cool. But
yes, it was.
Yeah, it's just a simple line though, whatever. But then we go back to Max and Rita, who he tells her she has to feed, and takes her to her park and grabs a woman walking a dog. At this point, if we thought the wig was bad, at this point we see the first of a series of prosthetics that they put on him to make him look vampirish, and it is absolute dog shit. It looks horrible.
Yeah, that's an understatement, because he ranges anywhere from slight disconfiguration or disfiguration, whatever you want to call it, to full on fucking Klingon.
It's so funny you said that, because that's in my notes later. That is in my notes later.
Go for it. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin it. I was like, oh my god,
that's how much we think alike.
As a matter of fact, he looks like Feklar from Star Trek: The Next Generation, the Klingon version of the devil. Oh my god. If anybody gets that, go watch the episode. What it devils do, I think it is, Star Trek: Next Generation. Okay,
that's how much we think alike. I have that in my notes, but yeah. But she doesn't feed, so he takes her back to his apartment and then tries to feed Silas to her. While he's trying to get her to feed Silas, the cop and doctor show up, save Silas and try to fight him. The doctor, being the expert that he is, the one that killed her father and being an expert in a folklore and vampire, stabs him, but somehow misses his fucking heart.
He had a wide open shot. And you go and stab him, in the stomach. And he even makes note. He says, "This is my stomach. This is my heart."
Yeah.
You're supposed to stab in the heart, not the stomach. And then he backslaps the shit out of him.
I thought you were an expert, doctor. I thought you were an expert. You weren't an expert in shit. So then Max takes Rita and leaves. Justice finds him and begins fighting Max. And
doesn't just leave though. doesn't just leave though. He kind of like Raiden leaves. He whooshes, turns into this light show, and then wisps out of the room with.
And then probably the most ridiculous, and that's saying a lot in this movie. The most ridiculous out of nowhere scene when Justice begins fighting Max. All of a sudden, Justice becomes Blade and starts fighting Kung Fu.
Well, why not? He was Gerald G. Money Wells to,
But
what was it? What was his name in New Jack City?
I haven't seen that forever, bro.
Nino Brown.
Nino Brown.
See,
Nino Brown. Yeah.
Nino Brown was Wesley Snipes. He played G Money.
But
so
again,
he turned into Blade.
I feel like
that's funny.
like there's a part that they cut out, like a whole part or a couple of parts they cut out, where one, you see Rita becoming or falling in love with Justice, and two, you are introduced early on to Justice knowing Kung Fu, because both of these fucking plot points come out of nowhere, absolutely nowhere. Like all of a sudden he's fighting him with Kung Fu. I'm like, where did that come from? Not that it matters,
because I believe he hit him like 2 or 3 other times in the movie and threw his ass around.
Well, he
exhibited no such skill, and then all of a sudden he's like, we missed the Miyagi training montage somewhere in a back alley somewhere. Miyagi telling him wax on, wax off, whatever the fuck.
Yeah.
And he all of a sudden he learns all these skills.
All of a sudden, nowhere, it's like he becomes and but it doesn't matter because he gets his ass kicked because he sucks, but then Rita grabs the stake and kills Max herself, and this is when, for some reason, after he's stabbed, this is when he turns into a Klingon.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep.
He
morphs full on into a Klingon. Oh my god, I started laughing.
This prosthetic makeup is so horribly bad. We'll have to put a picture up on the Facebook later. But like I think because the way the nose is and everything, I think they were trying to go for more of a bat face look.
I think you're exactly right. I think you're right because it went very flat and the nostrils were very flared.
But it looks like a Klingon. It looks so bad. Like they couldn't decide to go. It's like they couldn't decide to go all the way with bat, vampire, or go human, and they went this weird sort of mixture. It just doesn't work. But anyway. Max dies. Julius is still a ghoul, and he and Silas decide to leave in the limo. So they're leaving in the limo, and he goes to open the moonroof, and he finds Max's ring, which it's on the roof. Because
now, when Max did die, we have to tell this. We had the Raiders of the Lost Ark lit coffin scene where it was smoldering and smoke, and then this like light goes out, turns into this bird,
and then takes off.
And then flies off and poof, disappears. And then his ring hits the top of the limo. So then when Julius gets in there, it's on the top. So he goes to close the door, and the ring drops in his lap.
He opens the moonroof.
Sunroof.
Yeah, and it drops in his lap. But okay, again, they're focusing on the ring when they did not focus it on the entire fucking movie. So what happens? He puts the ring on. Suddenly, he goes from being a ghoul to being a vampire because he put the ring on.
Another smooth pimp vampire.
But
too.
Again, this is another rule they decided to just make up out of nowhere, because nowhere in the entire movie does Max talk about his ring or the fact that his power comes from his ring. It's not the fucking ring from Lord of the Rings. It's fucking. It's just it looks like a college graduate ring.
Kmart. It's a Kmart. It's a freaking Kmart mood ring, dude.
But somehow his power's in there, and just because Julius puts it on, he becomes a vampire, which absolutely makes no sense. And then they drive off, and that's the end of the movie.
That's it. Smooth.
So that be
and the damn back of the window's still smashed and everything, but yet now they're gonna take off in a limousine.
In a limousine hearse, nonetheless. So all right. Well, that being said, James, let's get your review of the movie.
My review of the movie is, look, plain and simple, I loved it. It cracked me up. Now, did it have a lot of horror content? No, but it had some. I wouldn't normally give something like this that's that enjoyable a one turd. I'll get that out. The acting was hilarious. I love the script. I thought it was funny. Now, the scenes did jump around a little bit, and like you said, they didn't tie together real well a lot of the details, so we'll say the writing was not as good. The script was not bad. The lines and stuff to me were funny because I enjoyed the comedy element of it. Because I'm enjoying the spirit of what we're doing here, so I'm not looking at it as objectively as I am like a Beaster Day or the Bye Bye Man or any of those crappy shitty movies. This one made me laugh so much I almost forgot it was a horror movie on several occasions. Uh, so all in all, I enjoyed it. Uh, it was nostalgic for me because of the multiple characters and the different voices and the fact that, like I said, it was like I saw it for the first time. It cracked me up. I'm gonna go ahead and give this one a two
Two
turd.
turds. Okay.
I'm gonna give it two turds because there wasn't enough horror
Okay.
element. So it's not as good as based on what we're
Yeah.
doing here, if I'm
Yeah.
being honest, yeah, I'm gonna give it a two turd, a strong two turd, because of the fact that it was more of a comedy to me than it was a horror movie. But out of respect, I'm gonna give it two turds.
Okay.
I can't give it a one turd because it just don't have that horror quality
Gotcha.
to it like the other
I
stuff.
understand.
The Klingon shit was hilarious. The damn exchange between Julius and Cyrus was hilarious. I liked it. It was the comedy element. Professor Clump meets
Meets Blackula.
meets
Yeah.
Blackula. There you go.
All right, two turds.
Good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so to me, this movie was trying to be too many things. It was trying to be serious but funny, and as we mentioned earlier, like I don't think anybody really got a finalization idea of what they wanted it to be, because as what do you call it? As Murphy said, Eddie initially, or Charlie Murphy said, Eddie wanted to initially play him as a serious character, not have any comedy in it. But then Wes Craven wanted him to have comedy in it, and so I think there's too many ideas mixed in that didn't really cohese correctly. It's trying to be serious but funny, a lot like another Eddie Murphy movie, Harlem Nights, which is a gangster movie, but it's a serious gangster movie that just has funny parts to it. Or even like a Fright Night, which is a vampire movie.
Yeah.
But it's a vampire movie that has some legit scares, but also some good comedy in it. And this movie does neither of those. As a vampire movie, it's too boring. It doesn't bring anything new, especially the fact that, like I said, he's a Caribbean vampire as opposed to European. And they don't play with a whole new set of rules. Like, they don't bring in any new powers, vulnerabilities, abilities, things like that. As an Eddie Murphy movie, it's not funny or interesting. Literally the whole time I'm watching it, I can just tell Murphy he's just going through the motions. He's phoning it in. And to me, when I watch him, every time he's on screen, it's like he's mentally preparing his script for Nutty Professor. Like, he's not even there. He's just getting ready for the next movie. So initially, but saying that, initially my rating was at a 2, like yours.
Okay.
But after you removed a point for both the dog and the cat death, and once you take out a point from the needless animal deaths, okay, and another for the lack of actual comedy, it puts it at a 4. But then
take back one Kadam to only the Hebrews God, whose ark this is.
But Jehovah starts with an I. Okay, so
I love throwing in useless random lines. That's great.
But Preacher Paulie yelling "goddamn" in the church was so funny that I gave it a point for that, because that made me laugh.
Yep.
So I am giving this a 3. This is a solid 3 for me.
Fair enough. Yeah. That was funny.
This is one of my favorite parts from any movie of all time. It's just the funniest thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I almost lost it on that. Like I said, I was laughing through this whole damn thing. But to me, it was more of a comedy than it was anything near a horror movie.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Even with the dead bodies, the wolf scare, all that stuff, not a horror movie. Not really a horror movie. It's more, like I said, it says horror comedy or comedy horror, whatever. But it was more laughable than anything. It was almost like a Saturday the 14th kind of thing. It's more tilted toward the comedy side and not so much the scary stuff.
And there are, like, if you want to see a really good horror comedy film and see a film that does both perfectly and is able to intermingle both perfectly, go check out Tucker and Dale versus Evil.
Oh
That
God,
movie is
masterpiece.
a dark comedy. It's perfect amount of horror and perfect amount of comedy, but not in the way that it's goofy. It's just the comedy comes from the situation, which is fantastic.
Now, Tucker and Dale will never be on this show
No.
because it is so
It would be like a
awesome.
-5.
That movie, it has great effects. It has hilarious acting. It's over
It's got
the
an interesting
top.
concept. You know.
Yes,
So
it does.
all right, bud. Well, I had a lot of fun reviewing this Eddie Murphy movie. I do love Eddie Murphy, but even his shit ones. But why don't you tell the folks at home where they can find us and where they can listen to us and where they can send their friends to and all that good stuff.
You got it, brother. All right. Well, of course, we're on the three big evils. You know, we're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, of course, under What the Suck Podcast. You can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, you name it, we're there. We have a YouTube channel. Most of our episodes are up on the YouTube channel now. So if you're a YouTuber, go there. Please subscribe and hit that good old notification button, as they all say. Also, we do have a Patreon if you'd like to support the show. All the money does go back into the show for equipment and materials, such as these fine collection of movies we have to give away at the end of the season. Patreon.com/whatthesuck. And we also have a TeePublic store. If you'd like to get a What the Suck t-shirt, you can go to teepublic.com and search What the Suck Podcast. We'll be there.
And I do want to give another congratulations out to Scott Carnes for winning our last prize pack. He won the Annabelle doll and some other goodies that we sent him. All he did was send in a bunch of reviews.
Yes, he did.
We actually had a good turnout for our contest last time. We had quite a number of people sending reviews, so we thank you all for that. We appreciate it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you can send any number of reviews you want in, per episode, per season, however you want to do it, whatever app you use. And he took advantage of that. And so he had so many reviews that he had the most amount of papers in the thing. I think that's why he won, because he had so many.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah. So congrats again to him. And again,
Yep.
we have our big giveaway at the end of the season. We're giving all the movies to you guys. So be sure to give us a review and send it to our Gmail, like you said. And
keep doing it. Keep the reviews coming, and email those screenshots to whatthesuckpodcast@gmail.com, and that will count as an
Absolutely.
entry. Anybody on Patreon, anybody on our
Patreon
gets extra votes
Absolutely.
as well. They get extra votes or
entries.
Entries,
and they all carry over. So yeah.
Yep, and one quick note, because we've already recorded our other podcast, and I said congratulations. I need to let all of our sucksters out there know that Chris here is a new daddy.
yeah.
Since the last time we recorded, this young fella here became
First
a daddy.
time dad.
Yep, congratulations,
Thank you,
brother.
sir.
And I'm happy for you. You're in for one hell of a ride. I'm telling you.
I can tell already, man. It's something for sure. I do want to say also, speaking of which, all listeners out there, send all of your positive thoughts to James, because my boy is working on getting a house. So send all the positive thoughts so he can get a new house, he can get his place. And once he does, he's going to work on building a studio. So we're going to have a professional place to get together and record this and sound better than ever.
Yes, indeed, and a place for my grandkids to play
Exactly.
and stuff like that. See, because unlike Chris, he's a new daddy. I'm a few years older than he is, and my youngest boy is 27 years old. Yeah,
so we'll call you a well-established daddy.
I'm well seasoned.
That's
I'm
right.
ready, and I got about 8 grandkids already. So
you
I'm
are
good
to go. That's right.
All
right, guys.
man.
Well, we'll see y'all. My name is Chris, and I'll see you on the next Suckfest.
Yeah, and this is James, and if it ain't on What the Suck, it ain't shit.
We can sum up McDonald's new crispy chicken sandwich in one word. Crispy. But also juicy and tender. Maybe crispy, juicy, tender. All one word? Okay, fine. You'll just have to try our crispy chicken sandwich to understand it.
Get a free medium fries and medium soft drink with purchase of any crispy chicken sandwich. Available only on the app. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Price and participation may vary. McDonald's app download and registration required.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
My dad used to say that.
Sure, yeah. It's from Geico.
Yeah, whenever I would ask my dad for life advice, he'd sit me down and say, son, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more. And look at me now, a well-adjusted adult with a drawer full of plastic bags I'll never use.
Okay, I'm confused. Was your dad a licensed Geico agent?
Nah, he was just a real good dad.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.